Making good starts and restarts can be a big advantage in a race, but as we've often seen, if you're too aggressive, your race can easily end on the first turn. How do the pros approach the drop of the green flag?
At the start of the race, you've got all sorts going through your mind, and every time is different. So sometimes you've got a plan of what you're wanting to achieve and how you want to do it, and sometimes that plan will come off and sometimes it won't. And other times you just take it totally natural and as it's given to you, and try and stay calm, stay clear. Again, there's times when you're nervous, and there's times when you're totally relaxed. And in my experience, I found no correlation to whether you're having a good day or bad day. It doesn't matter if you're starting on pole. Sometimes I've been nervous, sometimes I've been very relaxed, and there's times when I've started next to last, and you're more nervous than when you start on pole because there's so many things that can go wrong. So you can't get too worked up. Try and stay in the moment. Try to stay thinking about what it is you're trying to do, and not worry about the consequences. As soon as you start worrying about what could happen, you're not thinking about what you're doing.
Starts and restarts in car racing is very, very important. The first thing I see that are mistakes that I made and young drivers make is they're not closed up to the car ahead of them. They're trying to do the old Texas lay back and get a run on the guy. The bottom line is, more times than not, that doesn't pay off. You just need to be as close as you can, because if you do get jumped from the guy ahead of you, that space that you left, you're never going to make up. So just be really tidy, right up on the car ahead of you. Leave a safe amount of margin in case he misses a shift or has a failure, but you don't want to be laying back. From there, it's really about visualizing what's ahead of you, picking a hole, almost seeing that pass before you make it, and finding a hole that's there. But starts and restarts are another place where you can make up a lot of positions, but more times than not, your race will be over before you get a chance to show your stuff and really get out there and learn and put the miles under your belt.
Yeah, starts and restarts are critical in a race, especially if you're in a position to have a very strong result and possibly a yellow comes out at just the wrong time when you didn't need it. It's very difficult to stay on that edge and make sure you stay ahead of all the guys behind you, especially in America where the rules are quite fair in my opinion, and they try and make it to where you can't have an unfair advantage of the guy behind you. So staying focused throughout the race and making sure that you capitalize on those yellow flag moments where you're going to have a restart and maintain the lead possibly, or try and make some positions up. It's definitely a good opportunity to make things happen.
Again, you want to pull out from your foundation of knowledge of going, if I'm starting up front, this is what I need to do going into turn one, which is going to be totally separate. That if I'm starting mid-pack, I know we're all driving as close as we are. I got to try and make something happen in turn one. I can't take myself out, but I need to get by 4 or 5 guys, and you use your thoughts and you're going, okay, I'm going to go down in turn one, I'm going to go straight to the outside. Most guys are going to be jamming up on the inside. I'm going to drive around 4 or 5 cars right around the outside, even though it's not the optimum position. I'll be able to hold that because the inside line is going to be getting jammed up. Those are the kinds of things that you have to think about. And again, that goes back to building from your foundation of knowledge of knowing what you can and can't get away with.
If it comes easy, take it. They're the easiest places you'll ever make right on a restart. If it comes really hard, don't kill yourself and don't kill your car to do it. You have to finish a race to get the points. A championship is not made in 1 or 2 races. A championship is made over an entire year. So you need to finish every single race.
They are great opportunities, starts and restarts, but they're also the most dangerous parts of a race. And in my career, I've lost many races in the first corner, but I've never won one in the first corner. So it's always something to remember to, understand that there's an opportunity there on a start to make up some position, but there's a long way to go after the first corner, and sometimes it's good to give up a position or two just to keep your car safe and in one piece so that you can race it out for the rest of the day and see what you've got. But you want to see who's around you. It's always good to sort of have a look around you, see what drivers, you can often judge who you've got and how aggressive you can be. And sometimes the best defense is offense, and sometimes you want to go for it. Sometimes if you got someone that's not very reliable on your outside, you're better off letting him go and having a go at him later in the race.
It's one of those things when you're setting up the race car, you're going to need it to be very, very good on cold tires. And that's something, again, that involves, when you're competing at the highest level, having confidence in your equipment is incredibly important, because you know, the cars are separated by tenths of a second, sometimes even less. And again, that's something that you will take into consideration when working on the balance of your race car. You'll always make sure that you can be very quick from the get-go, but you'll also use the cockpit controls that you have, whether it be a road course or an oval, to make sure that, you know, when that green flag drops on a restart, you're making up positions rather than losing them, because it, you know, as competitive as it is, once kind of the race gets into a rhythm, it's incredibly difficult to overtake.
Restarts are tough, you know, and for me, you know, a lot of the times it depends on who you're restarting behind or in front. You know, it's a good opportunity for, maybe in the past you've analysed who you're racing with, know the guys that you're around, but also I think throughout the race you should have maybe looked at where they're struggling. You know, if it's power down or braking or anything like that, it might give you a good opportunity to know. But I think it's always anticipating a brake check or a thing that they tend to do as well. But you know, for me, it's after a while you get to know who you're racing with. But it's staying focused again, making sure that, you know, you've got all the settings right in the car. You know your braking marks. You know how deep you can take it. But there's a lot of opportunity on restarts, and you have to make sure that you can make the biggest opportunity, but without crashing.
Certainly on a race weekend, you have to be safe, because on the race you only get one opportunity. If you make a mistake, if you do something that's unsafe, if you take someone out, that's it for your weekend. And as you look at the championships nowadays, even though it's 17 races, one DNF can take you out of everything. So safety is the #1 thing.